immediately I see and feel they're saying, you're in a very serious vacuum state right now in the
Mm,
world.
mm,
And they want to give context that the universe, if you want to call the substrate of creation the universe, um, the universe is more like what fills it in. But people are
mm.
always talking about the universe, the universe. So we'll just go with that. Uh, the universe hates, if you will, a vacuum, right?
Mm, mhm.
It does not want there to be a space that's not given creation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So humanity is being shoved into, if you will, for lack of relation and words is always kind of funny and failing, but we do our best, is being pushed, shoved, forced to go in directions that we have not gone before because what we've been doing is obviously not working. And
Mhm.
except for when you look at like the balance, which is another kind of topic which we can talk about later, and the perfection of all things, and the balance and the perfection working is one to get to this point where we can have this change come to pass, that it's not always, the balance isn't always requiring such an imbalance in order to create the perfection between balance and imbalance. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't want to get too big right now, but I might have already lost people. Okay, so back to the original statement in regards to the vacuum. That if we had created a world that we want to live in already,
Mhm.
and we were all like, yeah, this is freaking honky dory,
Mhm.
then there wouldn't be um, such intense potentiality right now. Where in order for change to come about, um, we have to be stepping into this space of a void, if you will. And so
Mhm.
everything that's falling away, structures, patterns, everything that is no longer serving, wasn't ever really that serving. But I
Mhm.
digress. Uh, everything of that sort that's falling away is then inherently bringing about a vacuum, and it's happening
Mm.
on all levels: spiritual, mental, elemental, planetary, emotional, personal, um, where this this new trajectory of a greater expression of truth and love will emanate. um, it's like a rite of passage that we're all experiencing on all these different levels. And
Mm.
in order for us to fill in the vacuum effectively, we first have to be in that space of accepting that we're in a vacuum. So, like right now, the message, to be very clear and simple from the Akasha, is that you all need to work on accepting where you're at.
Yeah,
That there is
acknowledging.
so much
Mm.
resistance, and
Mhm.
acknowledging, yes,
Mhm.
that there's those two things: resistance and lack of acknowledgement. Like if you do acknowledge, it's this big about of like, oh my god, I can't handle this, oh my gosh, I'm tired, I'm sick of it, I don't want to deal with it, like lots
Mhm.
and lots of resistance coming up. And obviously people who aren't willing to acknowledge it at all, which is,
Right.
it's almost much better to be in resistance, right,
Mhm.
than to just not acknowledge.
Mhm.
If they're saying
Mm.
if we could all see it, acknowledge it, and accept it, and they're like, we get that you guys, are dealing with the human experience, and it's not just, oh hi, excuse me.
That's gonna happen.
Yeah,
We have
exactly,
four
on both
cats.
ends.
We
Yeah,
have four cats between the two
yeah.
of us, so
Yeah, yeah.
but
um
wow. Yeah.
that in order to, they're saying that in order to fill in the vacuum more effectively, more efficiently, if we were in no resistance to what is, those creations that would replace the old things would start to just spring up much more um,
Mhm.
gracefully, and
Yeah.
not from so much strife. And so, even on a personal level, hearing that, I'm like, okay, well, I'm obviously experiencing some resistances. Like that's not.
Yeah,
I'm
we
not
all
like, what
are.
do you mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shoot, I'm contributing to that. So let me just Okay, there's my homework. All, you know, and all of us can have that kind of examination too, right? And that they're saying that the divine goddess wants to pour into us, and that's what all of this is about. This is all about the feminine coming into balance and into power and into leadership.
Yeah.
That the masculine is really meant to be an equal supporting role. Kind of like you see in the movie, you have the lead role and then you have the supporting character. Ironically, the supporting character is usually the one that's like more memorable, more, you know, like, because they're there to support, so they have to be like a
or like
little
the
bit
comic relief,
you know,
or something like
yeah,
that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the feminine has been in the supporting role, and the masculine has been the main character, and that's exactly why we are where we are.
Wow. Yeah.
And if it was flipped, and it will be, and the feminine was the main character, even just saying that, my gut is like,
yes. Yeah.
yeah, right. And the masculine was seen maybe even more, but not for leadership, but for how well they can support. Like, you think about the divine masculine, a true divine masculine man, having a household, a family, maybe even an empire, and he's doing it all to be in service to his divine feminine counterpart that he loves so much. She doesn't have to do so much. She's the backbone of it, right? She's the one that kind of says, yeah, we're gonna make these executive decisions, and the divine masculine knows I follow her intuition and I do the work in order to execute that. Yeah. And then what he gets, how much clout, if you will, how much respect and all of that comes to him because he is effectively in an acceptable form of the, not being the lead role, but being in the supportive role. This is the acceptable form of the masculine. You think of it too, just like as innately, like there's so many people who have problems with this, right? And the Akasha wants to talk about that as well. The Akasha's like, you're going to have to figure out how much you actually want to say today, Irene.
Well, we have time, so, but this is really good, because I just heard Shinya Murti recently talk about how, and this is the first time I ever considered it like this, where the masculine is essentially like represented by ego, and the feminine, divine feminine, of course, and divine masculine, but divine feminine is more of the soul. And of course, humanity, we experience both, but it's supposed to be ego is the supportive role, you know, to help us like along being, you know, on this material plane. But the soul is the intuitive guiding force, right? And
that's exactly what the Akasha was going to say, but in a different form. That you can think of the feminine as the water in the body, and that's the spirit and the flow and the soul. And then the masculine is like the bones that are holding the structure together. Right. But if it was just the bones.
Right. Be a real creaky structure. I don't know. Right.
We wouldn't really go anywhere or do anything. Like, anyway, right, so
the balance.
By bringing the feminine in, so overall, to bring it back and simplify for the topic at hand so far, if we could just truly accept where we are, which, you know, for me makes me like, how do I do that? It's so hard. But that we can talk about that too. I don't mind throwing myself on the chopping block at all. If we were to be in such acceptance, that vacuum would automatically be filled in with her grace and her love, and these changes that are sustainable and life-giving would occur, would take place. But the reason why we're in such a like push and pull and so much division, I mean, you basically ask everyone except for maybe tech billionaires, you know, like, is life on Earth like how you want it? And almost no one would say yes to that question,
Right.
no matter what political landscape they, fall on,
Yeah.
or part of the landscape. The point though is that with that resistance to what is, especially with so much division, then the divine feminine is like, well, y'all just aren't making a way for me to step in. Where is it safe for me to enter? Nowhere, because you all just want to fight instead. And then so many of the people who don't want to fight also are the ones who won't acknowledge, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very small section of people who are willing to acknowledge that are not willing to fight and are in true acceptance. Even myself, like I struggle with the acceptance part, and sometimes will find myself wanting to fight with somebody. So I'm just like, your thinking is so small, like and I just want to like say something rude, like
right.
I'm very much imperfect in that sense. So it's just a big ask in a way. And the Akasha wants to say that they aren't down on us for having this messy human experience, because that's what we came here for. But they're also like, y'all make it way more complicated than it really has to be. And the challenges of change way more challenging than it has to be. Those changes could come a whole lot easier if you were just in acceptance. And so that's their first message is, in order for the goddess to step into the space that she belongs, we have to accept. But when you put it, and when the Akasha puts it that way, and you put it in those terms, at least in my mind, it makes me think, oh, wait a minute, the thing that's keeping me from having what I want, which is basically heaven on earth, is my lack of accepting that I'm not in heaven on earth. Like, then I'm just like, well, then it's just a no-brainer. Then I'm like, well, let me just get out of the freaking way. Like why does it have to be hard to accept? Well,
right.
When the reward is so great, and then we can balance out, risk versus reward calculation, kind of, the time that we spend in that, and just let go of like, oh no, it's not really a risk to accept this, because what are we gaining?
What
by
are you really letting go of? Yeah.
And
right. It's just
yeah.
Yeah, except for learning through pain, essentially. Like that's kind of what we're choosing. It's learning through
which is
our
the
suffering
human condition
versus learning because we want to grow and expand. And yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And I have personally come to a very it's interesting that we're having this conversation with the Akasha in this time, because I've personally come to a very like excuse me, like raw, uncomfortable space after learning that science has recently proven that we can't perceive of 0% of reality.
I think I heard about
I was
that.
listening
Yeah.
to
I'm like, what?
I was listening to I was listening to a scientist talk about this, and I was like,
I mean, we must have a certain
no,
percentage.
wait a minute, but I can't even perceive of what that means then. Like this.
Yeah, that's true.
And then things just started to get really whittled down, like so much, to the point where I was just like, I just feel funky now. Like nothing I perceive is true. Like the fact that everything I'm perceiving is an absolute illusion, and there is nothing that I can trust my brain to tell me the truth ever. So it's interesting though, because what comes next is acceptance. That's where I was like staying in this funk, right? Where I was like, okay, well, all right, I guess I'm just gonna I can't do anything. I can't do anything right. I can't do anything wrong. I can't care enough. I can't not care. I can't, like, nothing matters, like, because I can't perceive reality at all. And I just went into like this kind of like ego trip of like, for me, I can't perceive reality without wanting to, but not knowing how else to handle that information. And now with what the Akasha shares, is just to fully accept that nothing we've done has worked, because we've never been able to perceive of reality, and it's not up to us. And that's the key, is that it's not up to us to create these changes. It's not up to us to enlighten ourselves. It's not like anything miraculous comes from something greater than our perception of ourselves and life and reality, right? So um I just see how when the Akasha began saying that this is like a macro micro, how it's personal, how it's planetary, how all these different levels are affected by this. I'm like, okay, then I see very clearly my personal reality in it, or connection to it, and where my acceptance needs to happen. Like, what if I did just accept that I absolutely can't perceive of anything correctly? And what if I did perceive of that as the only thing that I know to be true is to accept it? And that's the only thing because, okay, I can't perceive a reality, but I can know that what the Akasha says is true. And if the Akasha says that I need to accept that I can't perceive of reality, then suddenly I have a thing to perceive of that is true, which is just needing to accept. And then I have some foothold somewhere.
Yeah.
Instead of feeling like, well, reality is melting in front of my eyes. And I was like, I gotta go to work.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like accepting that we don't know, right? But then it brings me to A Course in Miracles, because A Course in Miracles teaches that essentially all perception is illusory. Only knowledge is true. And so what, like, I guess the human experience is like coming back into truth, understanding true knowledge. And our perception is just, it can be, I don't want to say like a distraction, but it can confuse what is true versus false, right? So, and yeah, like you're saying, only something higher than us can actually transmit that truth to us. We can't like unravel it just by how we perceive the world and ourselves. Like there has to be some grace that kind of allows us
and we
to
have
get
no control over when that or will that ever happen.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah. And surrender, acceptance and surrender is really
right.
And have funny. Trust.
We're like, yeah, we're gonna go in the Akasha and they're gonna tell us what humanity needs to hear. And it's the same thing we've always. Of course. I don't know. I thought it was gonna be some like magical codes or I don't know.
All the reminders. It sounds like we can always use the reminders, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so then they said, but there's good news too. We're like telling you must accept reality. We're like, no, that's not fun for you to hear that. But that's not all we have to say. We're like, oh, good, okay. Let me listen. Let's see. So they're saying with the work of your acceptance down the line, you will incarnate in a different kind of vessel. Well, that's exciting. I mean, that's kind of like what I would have hoped for. Where your eyes actually perceive your vessel to be something that's holding your soul.
Whoa. That's wow.
I just got like the coolest feelings in my body when I'm the prototype of the next best version. Like what that's so cool.
That's right? So wild, because human design talks about how we're transitioning into we're gonna have what is it? Supposedly we went from 7 chakras to 9 more recently, a few hundred years ago. But we're supposed to be starting 2027. We're gonna have new centers that come online, essentially. So that's kind of interesting.
I could use a new center. I'm just saying, like, that sounds great right now. That's only like a year away. That's so. Oh man, so good. Great news today. It's not even Christmas. That's like in like 2 weeks. I just had my Christmas morning right now, like just the last 2 minutes.
I wish I could have explained that a little better, but yeah.
No, you explained that great.
Yeah. Interesting, but I want to hear more of what they have to say about it.
Yeah. So, yeah, me too. That our relationship in these new vessels, our relationship with gravity will shift. That as our eyes are able to perceive the energy that our vessels are sitting inside of, our soul will be able to actually perceive the energy that we are, rather than just, our physicality, our physical bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, the way that we relate to gravity, because right now we relate to gravity as in, like, oh, if I relax my hand, it falls down and I am my hand, and then we know ourselves as our body. But
Mm-hmm.
when we're able to see our energy field, and then gravity, pulls on our hand as we relax, our identification of what's happening will shift from being like, oh, I'm that which just relaxed, versus, oh, the vessel that I'm in, this knowledge, this true knowledge, this vessel that I'm in is relaxing, rather than it being our identity. It will just radically shift, because we'll be able to actually perceive the truth with our eyes.
Wow.
And that's
That
interesting,
would
because they always
shift.
say, for those who have
Mm-hmm.
the eyes to see, right? For those who have
Mm.
the ears to hear, for like, oh, like that's actually very literal at this point.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, and then the Akasha is saying something very interesting. I wasn't necessarily inquiring about this. They just brought this up, and they said that's why it's very important that we do not comply with the digital ID, because it will keep humanity from evolving to this level, and we will be stuck in
Whoa.
these prototypes. We will continue gosh, I'm blah. Again, it's just the thought of it makes me not function right. We will continue to incarnate in this level of
Mm.
prototype, if you will, in that the evolutionary expanse will be halted
Wow.
and be taken in a
That's
very
pretty.
false trajectory, which is, yeah, quite like, wait a minute, we did not, our ancestors did not go through all those generations just so that some I don't know, probably like 1,000 jerks just come along and like, no, that's
Yeah.
we're not gonna, yeah, so do not comply. And at the same time, what a wonderful news to hear that we're right there at the precipice of a brink to bring us to a whole new, it's kind of like how indigo children were born, and how like
Mm.
these different, like, higher vibrational kids started coming through,
Mm-hmm.
where you're like, what the heck, that's not what we're used to with most kids, it's going to be like that, where kids are just going to start to show us, like they say, the babes, through the mouth of babes, like they lead the way. Kids are
Mm-hmm.
going to start to show us a new version of reality based upon how they perceive themselves, and then it's going to clue us in. And that's really where the awakening is going to come from, is through the children,
Mm. Wow.
which is very interesting too, because right now the birth rates are the lowest that they've ever been, except for in Israel, which is
What?
interesting. Just leave
Mm.
that there.
Hmm.
They're higher there in Israel than anywhere else.
Hmm.
Um, mhm. And people who run Israel are all tied to these tech billionaires who are making the digital ID. And
Mm.
anyway, it's a lot of,
Yeah.
I'm like, can we
What?
ever have a conversation without having to talk about these freaking tech billionaires that come up in everything? Oh, it's
Oh.
because they're trying to ruin life for humanity. So I guess it's important to talk about
How? Yeah. How does, like, okay, if, again, collectively speaking, like, I don't like to put the blame on, like, well, they're doing it because, they're greedy or they're power hungry. Like, I want to imagine that, like, for some reason they're showing a shadow side of humanity, right? Like, it's a mirror for us, collectively speaking.
that. Hmm.
So what
Well, that's all
what
one and the same.
yeah. So
I mean, if you,
what do they say though about that? Like, why not why. I can't ask why. But, like, what are we supposed to learn from all of this? Like, from this trajectory that we're
mhm.
on and how it's gotten to this point. Like, Yeah, it's
So the
especially with the
Akasha says
technology.
that it's very interesting because there's only one other time that this has come through in an Akashic record reading, and it was specifically on a very similar topic,
Hmm.
different but similar. And so it's nice to just continue to see the congruency the Akasha always comes with. Um, and that was many months ago. I wouldn't have even thought of it, but they brought it up again. It has to do with what they call malnutrition of spirit. It doesn't
Mm.
have anything to do we think in duality. Our brains just automatically, black and white, hot and cold, right? And
Mm-hmm.
opposites, which is all illusion. And so they're like, we understand why you would have this question of like, oh, from this dual perspective of, oh, there's a shadow, which is different from me and what I am, and I have to integrate it and work on it. And they're like, that's beautiful and that's great. And don't stop thinking about, not you directly, you've done
Mm-hmm.
a lot of work, but just in general for humanity, we need to integrate our shadows, no doubt. And it's not that it's not the shadow either. And it's not that it's not their greed. It's all one and the same, but what it comes actually down to, according to the Akasha, is spiritual malnutrition.
Mm-hmm.
So when you focus on spirit, you feed yourself with that, like supplication, right? It comes
Mm-hmm.
through. You come to know yourself as an energy that's connected to a whole,
Mm-hmm.
and and that's in reciprocity with that whole, and you commune with that, and that becomes your priority in your whole life, and then you're free from the illusion of separation for the most part. And sometimes the ego wants to rear its ugly head, or maybe you haven't gotten to the part where you've felt the oneness and the connection, but you're on that journey. But regardless, you're focusing on spirit, and so because you're focusing on spirit, you get to reap the rewards. You reap what you sow.
Mm-hmm.
These people, they have spiritual malnutrition in the sense that they do not focus on. So if there's anything for us to gain is to learn that we must focus on spirit, because
Yes.
otherwise we could end up with their similar kind of malady of
Mm-hmm.
severe separation, of thinking that they're in so much separation, all they have is fear. So then out of that fear, they want complete control of humanity.
Yep.
And that's really where it's coming from. The greed is actually a consequence of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually what scarcity mindset is, which is why they hoard wealth.
Yep, I completely agree. And that was
Yeah.
answered beautifully. Wow.
Kasha, gotta give it up.
Cuz
So,
yeah.
so rather than,
Mm-hmm.
looking at them as like, oh, we can't blame them, and that's good. We don't want to have like a blaming, a victim perpetrator mindset, but we also have to know that they are intentionally out to get us.
Mm-hmm.
That is what they want to do. And that is the way they think that they will have safety.
Right.
Because our consumption, our freedom, our expression is threatening to them, because
Mm-hmm.
they don't have connection to spirit, so they don't know their source. They don't know that they're okay or that they're safe,
Yep.
because that's the only place that safety comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can have compassion, like, oh, I can't even conceive of the horrible suffering that they're in. I don't want to try. There's no need to. Don't go doing that. Please, no one. It's a dark rabbit hole that's not serving. Um, it's enough just to acknowledge, like we were talking about, having acknowledgement
Mm-hmm.
that they've gone down that rabbit hole, and they're an example for us as to why it is ultimately the most important thing to put spirit, God, Brahma, source, Allah, whatever you want to call it, first. And
Mm-hmm.
then say, okay, because I am connected to the one, and in a conscious relationship with the one, then I can recognize that as I help others garner that same kind of experience for themselves, then we collectively grow together and we ultimately win. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's looking at them as like an opportunity, like the pressure you put on carbon in order to make a diamond, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
that opportunity that we have to say like, oh, I'm someone that gets to know what it's like to be in deep reciprocity with creation. I get to have that because they're showing me that I want absolutely nothing to do with what would happen if I didn't. And
Mm-hmm.
not because I would come from feeling like I'm afraid, but no, like just genuinely desire with my whole heart to want to have that connection more than anything else. And when we have that kind of desire and we do it in a collective, like, the power is so exponential, it's so much greater than any force. It's almost, I hate to use the word, but like stupid to think that they could win,
Yeah.
because
It's
force is
against.
so inherently
Right.
just, yeah, it's just gonna kill
It's,
its it's just gonna kill its own self. It's gonna die out,
yeah, it's
but
resistance
in
too.
the meantime, right,
Right.
and there's that word again, right,
Mm-hmm.
and then at the same time, the more that we're in acceptance of the fact that they're doing this and they are the way that they are and that they don't want connection to spirit and they refuse to seek that, um which is, this is all coming from the Akasha, of course, it's coming to me as a lesson as well. The more that I'm in awareness that their choices are giving me the opportunity to sharpen, to deepen, to expand, and accept, then the acceptance becomes less of a labor. It
Mm-hmm.
becomes less of like this difficult surrender, because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times surrendering is really hard to do. And it becomes more of a joyous, like, oh, I want that so much. Like, finding the acceptance of that is the answer. Like, let me go do that with joy and excitement and eagerness, instead of
Mm-hmm.
like, oh God, I have to do this really hard thing, and putting
Right.
resistance against the resistance, right?
Yeah.
It's just never helpful.
You're,
So
yeah, it's hard, and I feel like it's hard in the beginning, but then it's really just providing relief like after you like
yeah,
acknowledge it and like feel it and
yeah,
process it. So,
that's acceptance and surrender always brings. It has not
mm-hmm.
ever failed me,
Yeah,
and I've
same.
done it for years. Like, I haven't just done it a little bit to say that. Like, I've done
Yeah.
so much of that, and it's always provided every time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Um so that, like Kasha says, like, there's gonna continue to be like news, like the news that I heard today about
Mm.
TSA giving lists of passenger names to ICE. There's going to continue to be news where you're just like, what the? And your eyes
Right.
want to cross, and you want to, like, drop your hands and like, like, just kind of, I'm like, dude, I feel like I want to almost give up. Like, I don't even, like, what the more I find acceptance for, the more there is to accept. That's the way it feels. It feels like you're on this endless journey of like accepting impossibility, and that even though the acceptance will bring you some relief, that something else is just going to come anyway. And they're like, don't let those feelings dictate your actions, because that's the impossibility of your perceptions creating illusions for you to fall into, and those are the inherent pitfalls that your perceptions will create for you if you allow them to. This is only a phase. It's not meant to be forever, where you're like, oh, more bad shit to accept. Oh my God, I can't.
Mm.
God, when is it going to stop? Like, it's only a phase. And it's hard for us to see that now because we're like in the minutia of it. And especially living in the mundane of the day to day, and like, we're not necessarily seeing progress happening at
Right.
all at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, in a bigger scheme. Maybe we are in our lives, hopefully personal lives, but overall, that's another main point in this session that they want to really press upon us, is like,
Mm-hmm.
don't fall for the trap of thinking that all of your surrendering is only going to always lead you to more need to surrender,
Mm-hmm.
that it is a phase, that you're going. And they're like, you just accept the fact, and they're laughing while they're saying this, like, humanity is taking the most giant shit you could ever imagine. Like, It's like we gotta push and grunt, and then we're like a little bit more came out, and like, but it's nowhere near out. We gotta keep laboring. Like,
we're constipated as a species right now. Oh my god.
Oh god, I don't know if I've ever heard a more true statement.
Spiritually constipated. Maybe that's what it
is. Oh Lord.
Oh,
but we're gonna get new centers. Maybe when those new centers come online, it'll be like a laxative.
Well, that's actually, I mean, I know it's a pretty silly metaphor, but I think not only accepting like the crazy, like, I don't want to say negative, but like the unfortunate news that we hear, but like also focusing on accepting like what we know is true around, like, you know, spirit and what spirit wants to tell us about how to live in peace and all that stuff. And it's like, I feel like if our focus were more on that, like even in those moments where like you read those news articles or whatnot, it's like, how can we transmute it in that moment so we're not having to then like try to accept things later down the line, and then now it's like it feels even more overwhelming. It's like in that moment, like, can't we find a way to like remind ourselves, okay, what is true here? Like, even if I'm seeing, again, with my senses, with my perception, something that is unnerving to me, how can I realign myself with how, you know, source wants to see it? And hopefully that will help me to become, you know, more accepting of the current circumstance.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also I love that. And also getting in touch with the pain.
Yeah.
Because right? Because everything that happens externally is pointing to something inside that needs attention, that needs love. And again, the universe, quote unquote, hates a vacuum, won't allow for a vacuum, like must fill it. And so if we're doing the process that you're talking about and forgetting to acknowledge and get in touch with the pain that it's creating so we can move through that pain and release it, then we're essentially just kind of living in a different type of distraction. So those two things really have to go hand in hand.
Yeah. Not being afraid to feel the emotions that want to come through, because really at this point in time we're healing, like, you know, ancestral stuff of like that wounding that has not been acknowledged and processed.
The epigenetics of our ancestors. Exactly. Yeah.
So it's right. That's probably why it's also extra heavy.
So, needless to say, we have our work cut out for us.
Yay, right? I know, we all came here ready to do extra this time. We're getting extra stars and extra points for this lifetime.
Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, it's facts because you said it. I saw it. I saw the sparkly stars. They were all around you. It was so fun. I loved that. And that's the thing too, is that like, it's our generation to uncover the truth. And that's really hard work to do. The next generation that comes, generations immediately coming in, are meant to embody that truth. And that's going to be a little bit more difficult in the beginning with the next couple generations. But then once those generations have like learned the adjustment and then embodied that, then the ones that come through, they're going to be able to live without having to learn from pain. And so what we're doing right now is the most difficult part. We're making room for these new vessels to come online by saying like, this is not it. Like, it's almost like cutting your own arm off in a sense to get yourself out of a bear trap or something. Like, we're trapped in these vessels for what they're capable of, in the sense that they give us this illusion that this is what we are.
And this is our safety.
Great suffering.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes. It creates great suffering. And so it's like you have, very counterintuitive to the vessel itself to be able to acknowledge this massively uncomfortable truth and like be like, okay, well then we have to find a new way that we've never even seen before, and here we go. We don't even know how to perceive reality in the process. So good. Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
We're here.
I love that. That's acceptance right there.
Yes, I'm learning. I'm trying.
With a bit of like, it's
Humor.
a little bit of humor.
We couldn't do it without humor.
Yeah,
humor is the laxative. I know. No, that's not.
Actually, I think you're right. So I think you're right.
I was gonna say lubrication, but I guess I don't know.
Well,
one or the other. Right? Both.
Wow. Yeah. It's already been a really powerful, enlightening talk.
Yeah.
So
it feels I feel very like, oh my God, my next prototype is going to have a whole new kind of eyeballs. I did not expect to hear that from. But now, okay, so the Akasha is saying, but you could play a little fun game with yourself right now. Anyone listening can do this. Like, imagine having those eyeballs right now. What would it? And I'm like, whoa, no, like I can actually, in my imagination, get a sense of what I would see and feel. Like imagining seeing my energy. Wow, that's really fun. And it's really pretty. Like it sparkles and stuff. I'm like, what if I knew myself like that and I walked around the world with my identity
on display,
totally focused.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, focused on that as myself. How would I move differently in the world? And that's what they're asking me to try and imagine right now. Like, what if you could just be the prototype right now? What if it didn't have to take reincarnation?
Yeah.
What if you could just tell your eyeballs you're actually capable of seeing that? You just have to want to. What if that's what little kids see? What if
I believe it. I'm sure we can at that age, or some of us,
Right.
The different energetic bodies.
It's funny because right, and auras and stuff. I remember there was a time in my life when I was able to see the energetic formation of plants, holding the plants up, and I was seeing it, and I was like, what am I seeing? And the Akasha told me that, and then I was like, wow, that's really cool, and I wanted to get more into it and focused on it, but for whatever reason I got distracted about things happening in life. And now that I think about it, I'm like, wait a minute, but I have seen things where my eyes had like extrasensory perceptibilities, where I was like, wait a minute, this isn't all just this illusionary third dimensional, everything has a beginning and an end, and surfaces are hard, and like this isn't all my eyes are actually always capable of. Yeah. So that's exciting to like, well, what would it be like if I just walked around knowing myself as like a sparkly aura? Well, how would I act, right? Like,
yeah, that would.
Would I walk up to the old man in the grocery store and just boop him on the nose just for no reason, and then giggle and walk away like a little kid, or you know what I mean? Like, would I be that free? I don't.
Well, it would change how we would interact for sure, because again, I think then we would, if we were able to see, even just if we were to take auras, if you could see auras, if all of us could see each other's aura, like we wouldn't have to question, or like we would already know where someone's, where their frequency's at, or where they're focused, or how they're feeling, or I'm not sure. I have never seen an aura, but like you could kind of get a grasp of where they are, and it would almost
totally.
It's like we couldn't hide, either deny it ourselves from ourselves, or hide it from the other. So in a way, it's almost like we'd be more honest, and that would probably help us to heal better, because we'd actually it would be all laid out for us, right? But what's
Right.
ironic is we probably won't get to that point until we can start communicating honestly while we're still focused on the physicality of things too. So, or it.
Well, and then and the Akasha says that is like, it reminds me so many times how many times this has come up for me in my life. And they're bringing it up again.
Mm-hmm.
There was this one time, you know about it, but for audience's sake, there was this one time when my hip was sprained and dislocated at the same time. It was horrendously painful and I couldn't walk. And the doctors were like, well, your sprain won't heal until your hip goes back into the socket, but your hip won't go back into the socket until your sprain heals. And I was like, oh, well, what am I going to do? Right. They were like, you need to lay down for like 3 months. And I was like, I was a single mom. I was like, yeah, that's not possible. Anyway, I ended up having a medical device called a biomat, which is amazing. Introduced in my life, and they saved my life, like literally. I'm not getting paid to promote the biomat.
I got one though too.
How much I love them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I was in a week, I was walking again. But it's still that thing, like there's such a lesson in two pain points, sources of pain are happening simultaneously, and they both need to heal at the same time in order for one to heal individually. And that's essentially what like is happening within the collective. Needs the individual to heal. The individual needs the collective to heal.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, what do we do? Like we asked the doctor, like, what do you mean? Like, we can't lay down for 3 months. We can't, that's not, what the Akasha says is that they're like, oh, just try dry needling. That's funny. They're just making a joke. I don't even know what that is. I like it when they crack it. They're like spiritual dry needling. Okay, you guys stop. Really, what would that even look like? No, but seriously though, that in us assuming the healing for our individual experiences helps the collective. So they're saying, imagining your eyes being able to see your aura and your physical body sitting inside of it, or your soul, or the sparkly energy of that, and walking around imagining that happening, knowing that in prototypes in the future, incarnations will definitely be gifted with that level of awareness and sight, that owning it now is the collective healing happening on an individual basis first, coming from knowing what the collective is meant for. So it's both things at the same time. So they're like, you have homework. Acceptance, yes. But isn't it so much more easy to accept once you know that through your acceptance, you're actually going to be gifted with this kind of sight? Like, wow, and practice having the sight now, because we can just manifest and let that be something that you focus on. Let it be a priority in your spiritual walk. Like, I mean, when I do it in an instant, I'm like blown away. Like, I don't feel the need to spend time perceiving.
Yeah. Right.
Wow. That becomes obsolete to even try to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a total biohack. Like, what?
It's
sorry, what was that?
It's just to, again, kind of like remove the haze,
the veil.
The veil.
Yeah. Yeah, to remove the veil. And then I can sense beings on the other side, my loved ones around me. Really don't feel alone at all. I mean, we're together. I'm not alone, but
yeah.
Never alone anyway, but like I feel more connected,
supported, yeah,
in this practice. And then they're like, and now watch what it manifests, not only in how you relate to the world and yourself and how you interact with people, but what kind of things you attract to you.
Right.
Oh. Because for the longest time, I've been getting the message from Spirit and from masters, teachers, yogis, all the whole entire expression of the story over and over and over again. If you have everything that you need within you. How many times have I heard that? I have no idea. How many times have I had a dime for it? We would have funding for this podcast right now. But when I hear that and I try and perceive of what it means, I get only a glimmer. When I let go of perception and I go into the practice the Akasha just gave me with the awareness of having this ability to see what's real within my mind's eye, within my imagination, which makes it feel real because it is more real than the illusions of my perceptions. I suddenly understand what that means, that you have everything that you need within you. And it reveals what it is that I've been seeking, where I've been like, what do I want? Why don't I know what I want? How do I find that out? I think I want this. Find that out. Oh, well, no, I guess that wasn't quite it either. It's this constant energy of togetherness is the only thing I've actually been wanting. And now that I feel connected to the witnessing of the togetherness, I feel that I have everything that I need within, and it's automatically received. There's reciprocity with it. And so when the Akasha says, now imagine what you're going to attract to you, I'm like, oh boy, this is maybe about to get really good. Okay.
Just functioning on a whole other level. Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
So it's good because, you know, this is like a little bit of a journal entry, right? Like, I encourage you to share. Like, I would love to be able to look back 5 years ago from, you know, in the future, 5 years in the past, and say, like, wait, look where we were. Look what we were talking about. Look what we said was going to happen. And look what happened. And
yeah.
That's fun. Little time capsule is what I'm trying to.
This is our time capsule. This video right here.
Yeah.
Our time capsule.
Yeah. Our first time capsule. How exciting.
Yeah.
I had a hard time putting that out. I
definitely experiment. Yeah. I will definitely experiment with that, though. Because, yeah, the extrasensory understanding, extrasensory way of.
Right. Rather than trying to rely on our perceptions. Because it's the whole point of intuition, is it not?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that what your intuition is?
It's to trust something you can't see. Well, that's faith too, I guess. But intuition, yeah, it's something that's, I guess,
extrasensory.
Yeah, exactly. A message from spirit versus just something we've come up with in our minds, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I do also recognize that, like, these parts of me that have felt separate, that have felt not integrated, that have come from even small or slight considerations where there was worry and an attempt to try and perceive of myself, which is what was just happening when I was trying to get this out. Growing up, communicating was something that I struggled with, and then sometimes every once in a while that pattern will present itself and I'll be like, okay, here it is again. And I recognize that my identification in that model, if you will, of reality or mode of reality with that pattern is all caught up in believing the limitation of the physical form, that this is, you know, just how much inherently the identification of the physical form solidifies, not to be punny, our limited beliefs.
Yeah.
And when I can now, if I think about that moment when I was struggling to communicate, and I think about what if I had thought about my auric field, what if I had put my focus on this energy that I am, then all of a sudden it wouldn't have been a me trying to communicate a thing in this limited time space where I have to conceive of myself to know of myself to be able to express that which is seemingly like beyond what I might even be able to perceive, which is not even real anyway. What the fuck? Excuse my language.
Yeah, it's hard. I completely
So the
agree,
way
though.
the way the way we can relate this practice to our self-concept in our patterns is the point that I'm making, that the Akasha is showing me.
Yeah.
That, okay, think of a pattern that you're used to struggling with. Now imagine yourself as your auric field in that pattern. How does it feel to have that pattern? Then it becomes like, oh, my inner child needs a lot of love right now. And then all of a sudden I'm able to administer to myself instead of being on the outside of the pattern trying to judge myself inside of it.
Or make sense of it too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like then I can tell my little inner child, hey, guess what? This is actually what you are, this auric field. And I can inform her, you were never your body. And then she was like, well, I don't know why you're tripping then. Like,
yeah.
I'm not tripping anymore. She got it. Okay. It's really cool how we can use this to do our inner work.
Yeah. And to re-identify with our true self versus, again, like even I have struggled through that though too, where I feel like, man, I have a hard time communicating or expressing, you know, what I have, like the thoughts I have in mind and how to like speak on those eloquently. And then I realized like, well, that's still identifying with, I don't want to say ego, but like these old beliefs and, you know, what I've gone through from childhood and whatnot. And it's like, that's again the small identity, the story of who I am versus who I really am beyond all those stories and the conditioning and the experiences. And when I re-identify with the truer self, then it's like, then the words flow because now you're just channeling what wants to come through versus like trying to like, get confused by all these other things going on that the mind wants to, you know, bring up and convolute the
all
message,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So needless to say, it's a massive biohack. Like, you know, the work gets exponentially shortened, you know, when we can assume that what is coming is already in the present. This vision to be able to see the truth, something we already actually possess. What a huge gift from the Akasha today. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.